All right.
All right, so we're joined with Prentiss Madison. He is running for Precinct 4 of the County Commissioner's Court and also a sitting city council member from the city of Bryan. So, Prentiss, welcome to our show, Think Brazos.
Thanks for having me.
So, obviously, we brought you here today to talk about a couple of things, but the main thing is you're running. You're running for this position on the County Commissioner's Court. But it seems like you've had quite a number of years of experience on the city council, and before that, maybe planning and zoning. So I'd like to hear a little bit about your background, especially political background, and what you plan to do going forward at the county.
Actually, I first started my volunteer service with the city back in 2002 or 2001.
Wow.
Parks and Rec Board.
Yeah.
I've served many years on the Parks and Rec Board. I actually got to chair the Parks and Rec Board my last few years on the Parks and Rec Board. And from the Parks and Rec Board, I went to the Zoning Board of Adjustments, which was the ZBA. Oh. And we met probably twice or three times a year, which was really neat to also participate in that. And from ZBA, I went to the Planning and Zoning Commission. And that's when we really started learning the functions of the city in the different areas that you have to be able to relate to. To go in. Because a lot of times, being a citizen, I start to realize then, like, oh, I just can't make this phone call, or I just can't complain about it. I have to be in depth to make sure that I'm calling the right people, associating with the right people, to make sure that it's getting to the right deal. But again, to the ordinary citizen, this is a hard thing to do. Yeah. But as council member, I think that's why I pride myself on as being a city councilman, as to making those phone calls for those individuals that need to get in contact with the right individuals. And staff does a terrific job getting back with the constituents and the citizens to make sure that their complaints or their problem is getting solved. So planning and zoning really taught me a lot. And towards, I guess, my third or fourth term on planning and zoning, I seen that District 2 was kind of going in a wrong direction. We wasn't making that connection between staff and the citizens of District 2. Okay. So I decided to run for city council, and we came out, triumphantly.
What year was that?
That was 2016.
Oh, wow.
2016, we ran, which was, I think, the first time the election was held in November for council members. And it was a great opportunity. And we've enjoyed it. We learned a lot. I think we helped a lot. We kept an open door policy. We kept our phone lines open. And any way that we can improve citizens' relationship with staff and council and administration, that's what we aim to do. So it's been an enjoyable process. Never considered myself a political person. Just wanted to do what I thought was in my heart to do, and that was to serve others and make sure that other people was getting the things that they needed to help.
That's awesome.
Help relate to themselves.
And more personally, I know we kind of skipped over that, and I didn't mean to. I wanted to ask you. You have you're married, and you have 4 children.
Yes, me and my wife Patricia.
Wow.
We've been married for the last 14, 15 years.
Wow.
And we do have 4 kids together. Our oldest daughter is Alana. She graduated from Texas A&M.
Oh, congrats.
The next one is Giovanni. He works here locally for UPS.
Oh, does he?
He's a driver for UPS. So a lot of people probably see him around town all the time. And Michael, she's a sophomore at Texas Southern University down in Houston, Texas.
Wow.
And PJ's a senior at MC Harris School here in Bryan ISD.
So he's the youngest.
So he's 18, but he's the youngest. But it's we love Bryan. I was born and raised here. My wife was raised in Midland for a little while and came back to Robeson County. And once she ended up graduating from Bryan High School. So we love this town. We love this community. One of the things that my parents have instilled in me is that to always remember where you come from and work hard to make sure you give back to the community that help you be the person that you are.
That's awesome. So how are you going to make this transition from currently city council, that's what you've been working on, to a broader county level? Could you talk a little more about maybe the differences and how you're going to handle this job should you be elected for the commissioner's court?
Well, I want to keep the same approach.
Okay.
Meaning that I want to keep a close relationship with my constituents in Precinct 4. I want to hear what their concerns are. How can county help relieve some of the concerns that they have? So it's important that we keep an open door policy. We keep ourselves out in the county to make sure the residents can see us and speak to us. It's also important that we travel our precinct.
Sure.
And what's insane is that we hit our rural areas and making sure that we are talking to the different constituents out in the rural county area and seeing what their needs are.
Precinct, sorry to interrupt, but is Precinct 4 is both rural and urban, right? It kind of has both.
It actually is. It's rural and urban. Rural and urban. Okay. And again, we know that the majority of the population is urban, but the county's main concern is the rural areas.
Yeah.
And so, but even I'm glad you said that because it's important that as a county commissioner, we still take the concerns of our urban constituents because they also pay taxes to us, and it's important that we listen to them also. Yeah. So that's very important to me that I keep the same approach, open door policy, making sure that you can call anytime, I answer the phone, or you can stop by and we can talk anytime. That's very important to me.
Do you think that it's going to be quite a bit harder of a job given that should you win, your constituents will be multiplied by, 4 or 5? You'll have a lot more of them knocking on your door. You think it's doable? To keep the same approach.
I think sometimes it may be, but that's part of scheduling. Yeah. But also, the love that I have for this community is undeniable. Sure. So I don't think it'll be a big cause. Right now, with my last son graduating from high school, me and my wife like to think we're about to be empty nesters. Well, we don't know if that's going to be possible.
Right.
Nah. But it's enjoyable to work with the citizens of Bryan, and it'd just be more enjoyable to work with the citizens of Bryan and Brazos County and College Station.
Okay. So let's talk now about some ideas that you might have, not only for Precinct 4, but also for the entire county that you would hope to get a chance to implement.
Okay, one of the things that this council that I've served with is we really went out and tackled some issues that the city has had. And so going into county, I would like to, look over some of the issues, look over some of the problems and say, hey, this is where I want to tackle at. This is where I want to get started. Yeah. These are the things that we need to do. But also we know Brazos County is a growing population.
Right.
I mean, we're facing with Interstate 14 coming in. Redis campus on the verge of breaking out in the next 5 years, which is located in Precinct 4. Yeah. So also you have a Triangle Park that's located in Precinct 4. So some of these things that we're starting to look at is we're going to have an influx of population. How do we control the growth and make sure that the things that we need in Precinct 4 and Brazos County are getting those deals? Yeah. One of the things I ran on as a city councilman when I first ran back in 2016 was affordable housing. Affordable housing was one of the deals that it kind of went away. Everyone stopped talking about it. Well, I was fortunate enough to be elected to NLC, National League of Cities Committee, which was Community and Development Advisory Committee for NLC. And we met in D.C. a few times, and it was a nationwide, and still is a nationwide problem, affordable housing. Oh, yeah. And so what they did was we were affordable housing to workforce housing. So I like the idea that this council has been working diligently to bring in businesses that will help fuel the workforce housing. And again, not a McDonald's, not a Dairy Queens, but businesses that can come in and suffice what we need as citizens to make sure that we can have the American dream
like
over the home. Larger
businesses.
Larger businesses. And to make sure that we have that ability to go out and afford to buy. Because if we look at the housing market, we look at land value, it is skyrocketing.
It's crazy. So have you been working on that at the city level, bringing in businesses that kind of commit to helping with this workforce housing, making sure that happens? Or I guess what were you referring to there?
Well, one thing that we're referring to is that if we're able to bring in companies and businesses in Bryan, the issue would be, hey, we need that price point of $15 or up, $16 and up, to make sure that it equates to people being able to work a full-time job and being able to afford a house or a home to live in. Matter of fact, it's just to make sure people are able to meet rent sometimes too. So I think it's important that we go out to companies that's going to benefit not only the city, but also the citizens. And that's, to me, if you increase the workforce, you increase the job opportunities. I mean, then you find a way to help fuel some of the problems that we have with workforce housing.
Now, I'm glad you brought that up. In some parts of the country, and it feels like the whole county is rapidly headed this way, there can be provided great jobs, even higher than what you referred to, $19, $20 an hour jobs, and they still can't find housing. Do you have any ideas as far as how you could pair what you've already talked about with, better paying jobs for the county, for the precinct, but as far as a house with, Habitat for Humanity, we do a little bit, but we can't serve all the need, and there just isn't that price point, especially for ownership. And so that's a hard question, and I don't know how you quite fix it, but I was curious to see if you had thought about it at all.
And it is. It's a hard problem, and everyone's out to make the biggest buck they can make. At some point in time, you have to find those individuals that are willing, like Habitat, to say, hey, I'm about to build it. Maybe I'm not going to make $80,000. I'm going to make $40,000. Maybe I'm not going to make $100,000. I'm going to make $50,000. And so I think that's an individual company to make sure. One of the biggest issues is haven't always been price point. One of the things is having home ownership understanding and what it takes to be able to own a home. What it takes to be able to buy a home. In some of these issues, we need to educate the community on what it is to own a home. I remember me and wife bought our house. The debt to ratio was something new to us, and it had to become a great understanding to us what we need to do to make sure. And which that is the one. If I look at my community, that's probably going to be one of the biggest problems is debt to ratio of understanding that this is what you need and this is what you can't buy and you can buy to make sure you're going to be able to afford or even qualify to get a home. So I think that's probably one of the bigger issues. Again, I know price, the hourly price jobs is a big problem, but I think this one here, educating the community on how to buy a house and home is also a big problem. So I think that some of them do go hand in hand, but the issue that I would like to work on as a county commissioner is also making sure we get the education out there that individuals need. That's trying to buy a home that feels like most of my community falls in a low income area, but it's not the end of the tunnel because there's still a light that if you get the understanding of how to buy a home and what it takes to buy a home, and you're willing to make the sacrifices that you need to buy a home, you can do it. But that's also giving them an education. The next step is making sure the Brazos County is doing this part to make sure that we are bringing in businesses and companies that can fulfill this.
Okay. So you mentioned bringing in businesses. How exactly did you do that at the city level, and then now you're hoping to do it at the county level? Are we talking actual monetary incentives, or how do you do that? I know each one's different. But how do you bring in a big company like what is it? Biothink? I don't know what that is.
Well, it's not so much as the city, handing over cash, but it's so much of making sure that we have the infrastructure there that certain businesses may need to come in. Also, it may be that we might need to give a tax abatement to a certain company. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're coming in and you bringing in 200, 300 jobs, mm-hmm. and the average salary is $45,000 a year, mm-hmm. you know, of course, the city may need to give you a tax abatement because what you're doing is putting our citizens to work. Yeah. And not only are you putting them to work, but you're giving them that ability to be able to afford a house and buy a house. Okay. And so those are some of the ways that we look at, you know, helping or trying to recruit businesses to come in to Bryan and help the community out. Okay.
So a couple of things that have been kind of going around in the county commissioner's court over the last year, especially. There's one commissioner I can think of that brings it up quite a bit, and it is this idea of broadband for the rural areas, connectivity, but specifically the fact that, you know, that there's a lot of funds that have come in federally, and what do you do with those? There are certain rules as far as how you can use them, but so far they haven't spent a lot of that money. Are you familiar with this discussion, and do you have any thoughts on broadband or any other uses of those? I guess it's ARPA funds.
Yeah. Well, I have a as I block walk the county and talk to the county and the rural residents and the county residents. One of the big issues do come up is our internet service and that they have and that they lack of. Mm. And so as a commissioner, it was something that I would want to be. Sitting in the room, and hey guys, let's tackle this issue. Let's listen and see what we can do. I don't think it's something we can fix overnight or within a month, but I think it's something that we can put in direction. Mm-hmm. That this is where we want to go. This is where we want to be at a certain time. And now, how do we get there? How do we start fixing these issues with broadband and internet service to our rural residents? Right. I think it's a very important issue that we need to tackle. But again, I have to be privy to the meetings that they're in and the discussions on what their ideas are. Right. But I think county staff and county commissioners, mm-hmm. I think it is something that we're going to have to tackle and we're going to have to look at. And I think it's something that we can't kick down the road. It's something we're going to have to tackle right away because more families, more husbands and wives are working from home now. Yeah. And it's something that, and God forbid if kids are sent home again, that this is what they're going to need to make sure that they can get their homework and schoolwork done. So I think it's something that we're going to have to tackle right away as county commissioner. I think that'd be one of the things at the top of my list to make sure that we start tackling the issues for those rural areas.
So another rural question that we have, being part of Habitat for Humanity, is affordable housing picture. We touched on some of that earlier. But I'm curious your thoughts as far as the rural parts of the county. Is there a place for affordable housing development outside of the city limits?
You would think so. I mean, again, I haven't tackled that many issues because I'm still busy with city work. Yeah. But I would believe that there is. But again, that would be something that I'd like to sit down with city staff, county staff, mm-hmm. and kind of go over some issues to say, hey, do we have a parcel of land that we could help out with affordable housing? Mm-hmm. You know. And the issue is when we start talking about affordable housing, again, I think we have to go back to the issue of workforce housing. Mm. You know, and what are we going to consider affordable housing now? You know, because it's pretty hard because at the rate that housing material is going up,
it's hard to build affordable housing. Right?
You know, I hear now that if you're building a house, you pretty much have to order your windows before you sign the contract. Right. So I think it's a conversation that needs to happen, and I look forward as being the next county commissioner that we can tackle some of these issues. And I don't think it'll be it may be a very complicated deal, but I think it's something that we can tackle because I think most people who run, and as I look at the commissioner's court, a lot of those guys and women have a servant's heart. So if you have a servant's heart, it's a way for you to figure out a way to help mankind to achieve some of its goals.
Okay. And we talked about broadband, but really going from the affordable housing question, it's kind of difficult to build out there in the rural areas, largely because the infrastructure. is different. You got septics, things like that. What is your stance on the rural parts of the county and the county getting involved in providing or figuring out a way for companies to provide water, sewer, things like that? What's your stance? Do you think we should or shouldn't in the rural areas?
Well, a lot of times when you look at those rural, and if you look at businesses that's going to come in, this is what we're talking about, businesses, right? If you look at businesses and companies, most of the time they're going to be able to done their homework.
Yeah.
And they're probably going to want a frontage road, major frontage road, or a major thoroughway. And most of those have water lines or sewer lines running through them. So I don't think it's a complicated deal to do, but I think if the county really wants that business or that company to come in, it's something that the county and the city probably need to work together to make sure that they're getting what they need to help the residents of Brazos County. And with that being said, again, we go back and we're looking for those businesses. And like you said, I love the idea, $19 an hour, $20 an hour, $22 an hour, to put people to work.
Yeah.
And if we can help provide those kind of jobs, I really do think that we should be helping those businesses come here and locate here for the long haul. Not for the short run, but for the long haul, because this is what Brazos County need to put our citizens to work, especially in our low-income areas.
Yeah. Well, with the couple minutes that we have left, I could keep asking you tons of questions all day, but to leave it at that, for me, I just want to give you an opportunity to, speak to the voters and tell them anything you want to tell them as far as your campaign, how you get in touch, anything you want to.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm Prentiss Madison. I'm a lifelong resident of Brazos County. My family has been here over 6 generations. My grandmother, my great-grandmother, my great-grandfather, they came out of the Edge community. My grandmother's maiden name is Kuntz. And so our family has been here since the late 1860s. Wow. And this is home to us. One of the things that we often talk about is, where do we want to be in the next 50 years? Where do we want to see our city and county in the next 50 years? I think county commissioners have done a great job. One of the things that I look forward to as being the next county commissioner is improving that relationship with county residents or the precinct 4 residents with Brazos County. And the things that we can achieve if we turn out and work together. There's some battles we may lose, there's some battles we may win. But the ideal is to make sure that we continue to fight for what is good for Brazos County and all of Brazos County, not a particular group of people, but all of Brazos County. Right. So as a county commissioner, that's my idea, to work with everybody, to make sure that we're doing the things that we need to get done to make sure that Brazos County go forward in the future. Now, I say all of this, and I think I have a really bipartisan approach to fixing problems that we have or we may occur as a county commissioner. But I think that being able to work well with other county commissioners and seek their advice as I give my own advice, that these are some of the problems that we are having in Precinct 4. How do you think that we need to go about fixing it? And listening. And a lot of times I learn, and me and Councilman Marine, we tease each other all the time when we went into city council, that we went in with a bunch of bright ideas. But the first thing that we learned is that you had to listen. Yeah. And not only do you have to listen to the constituents, but you have to listen to staff also to figure these things out. And what I want to do is keep an open door policy. I want to be able to listen not only to staff, but I want to be able to listen to my constituents to fulfill the duty that I've signed up to do. I think it's in my heart, it's in my nature to help. And that's what I look forward to doing, is serving the citizens of Brazos County Precinct 4 and of Brazos County. Again, I like to emphasize that I'm here for all residents, because as a commissioner, I wouldn't represent just Precinct 4, but I represent all of Brazos County. But my concern will always be with Precinct 4 to make sure that we're getting the things and having the things that we need to survive and to move forward along with the rest of Brazos County.
Got it. And when's the election for the Democratic primary?
Early voting is May 16th through the 20th, and voting day is May 24th.
May 24th.
I think it's important that individuals get back out and vote. I think one of the problems that we look at as a runoff election is a small percentage of the population getting back out and voting. But I think if the citizens get out and vote, it shows that Brazos County is moving in the right direction.
Okay. Well, this has been Prentiss Madison running for Precinct 4 County Commissioner's Court. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Charles.